Let's see. I'm gonna do a little video here, and I'm gonna call it Making Space in Your Refrigerator for Boondocking. Most people refrigerate nowadays that they didn't used to refrigerate back in the day. And how do I know they didn't refrigerate it? Because there wasn't no refrigeration. It just wasn't there. So we're going to talk about making space for fresh stuff in your refrigerator when you're boondocking. The question that I was going to ask today, you can see over behind that drawer, or talk about today, was refrigerator space while you're boondocking. And when I began to think on it, I began to think about back when we was youngins, hearing my daddy talk about refrigeration and how they lived without refrigeration and what they had when they didn't have no refrigeration. And basically they had the same things near about that we had today. But it's easier today the way we do it than the way they did it. They usually kept fresh stuff like milk. They had a milk cow and they had fresh milk every day, and every other day they had buttermilk and butter and everything. So it was easy to keep fresh. But I was going to talk about things that you didn't have to put in the refrigerator, which provided extra space in your refrigerator while you're boondocking. And the number one thing that came to my mind was eggs. Everybody refrigerates eggs nowadays. I remember when they just kept a bowl of eggs sitting out there on the cabinet. And they would bring them yard eggs in and wash them. And they had them a pencil there. Most people had a calendar hanging right close where they'd know what day it is. And they would write on them eggs 1, 2, 3, let you know what day of the month that them eggs was laid on. So they'd eat the older eggs first, you know. And they kept them eggs out. And I'll tell you how good eggs keep without refrigeration. I can remember whenever they would be setting hens, they would go to the egg bowl when a hen was trying to take a nest, and they wanted to get her started real quick to have some biddies to eat or restock their layers. They would go to that egg bowl and look through there and get some of the fresher eggs and put them in the, when that hen took the nest and started, they'd take them eggs and put them in there to them. So she'd set on the nest quicker when she got a nest full of eggs. So they'd take them eggs that had been laying out a week or so and put them to her, and they were viable and hatchable. So eggs is one great big thing that don't have to be refrigerated. I think they'd keep up to 30 days without refrigeration. Now, I'm sure that the eggs we get in the store done been a week or so old when we get them, probably 3 to 5 to 7 days old. So, you know, you can keep them out for a couple of weeks and not have to worry about it. There's a lot of things, though, that keep not in the refrigerator. Hot sauce, like my Crystal hot sauce, it's recommended not to put it in the refrigerator. And then you got jelly. Old timers never refrigerated jelly. That's a new modern thing, refrigerating jelly. Pickles wasn't refrigerated. Now everything says keep refrigerated after opening, but back in the day, those things were not refrigerated. I remember Granny had a pie safe. That was just an old cabinet with screen wire on it to keep the bugs out. And she'd put her leftovers in that pie safe. We'd eat them the next day or the next day. And you go to these restaurants and they worried about the temperature dropping below a certain degree, gonna kill folks. We all thought my daddy had a cast iron stomach. He drank sour milk. He'd brush the mold back off a tater salad and eat it. Hey, it won't kill you. Starvation will kill you. A little bacteria won't kill you. Promise you. But we've gotten too soft in this country. I can remember whenever, now everybody's got to have a water filter and chlorine water. I remember we'd go fishing to the swamp and we'd get thirsty. We'd just scoop us up a handful of that swamp water and drink it. I drank out of Minya Creek, Minya Pond, swam in all kind of ponds. Now you can't go nowhere without catching some kind of disease, flesh-eating disease or brain-eating amoeba or something. You drink stream water, you get that jarred. I reckon people had immunity built to it back then, but that's enough of that. We talking about refrigerator storage. But there's a lot of things you put in your refrigerator that you don't have to put in the refrigerator that'll last. Some people put flour and everything. Milk. Now to me, I gotta have fresh milk. You gotta have milk in the refrigerator, but there's a ton of stuff. Like I say, pickles and jelly and eggs and all kind of stuff. Look on it. See what it said. Now, most things nowadays say refrigerate after opening. There's a lot of stuff you don't have to refrigerate. Now, I don't think you'd have to refrigerate soy sauce because it's mostly salt anyway. And ketchup. Restaurants never, hardly ever, put ketchup in the refrigerator. Now, some do, but most of them just leave it sitting out. But they go through it pretty fast. So don't buy big bottles if you're going to leave it sitting out when you're boondocking. But there's a lot of things that you can leave out of your refrigerator and make space for fresh vegetables and things that need to be refrigerated. But there's a lot of vegetables that you don't need to refrigerate. Tomatoes don't have to be refrigerated. Cucumbers don't really have to be refrigerated. Peppers don't have to be refrigerated. Maybe what else? Some more stuff don't have to be refrigerated. You don't really have to refrigerate cabbage. Butter, yeah, butter don't have to be refrigerated. It wasn't refrigerated in old time. It just sitting out in the dish with a dish rag on it. It set it in a bowl, put a dish rag over it. They'd make that clabbered milk up, make buttermilk out of it when it clabbered. Then they'd take the cream off of it and make butter. That butter never saw a refrigerator. You buy that Amish butter from them Amish farms, nah, it's anything else, baby, you can think of, don't have to be refrigerated. If you buy that Velveeta cheese don't have to be refrigerated. I didn't used to refrigerate cheese. I remember when we used to go in the grocery store.
What about the steak sauces, certain ones of them?
Yeah, there's certain ones of them steak sauces don't have to be refrigerated. Soy sauce, like I said, wouldn't have to be refrigerated. But I remember when they had old hook cheese sitting in those round wooden bins sitting up on top of the meat counter. And they just sat out all the time. They'd reach up there and cut you a slice of that cheese, and it was already warm and oily. Now I buy a thing of hook cheese now that I want to eat. I'll lay it up on the dash and let it get hot where it gets oily and warm before I eat it. Get me some saltine crackers. That's the best way to eat hook cheese. After it's like warm, that oil done started coming out of it. But cheese don't have to be refrigerated. There's a lot of things that don't have to be refrigerated that you can get by with and save refrigerator space when you're boondocking. This is a representation of how much space you could save in your refrigerator by things that really don't have to be refrigerated. Now, everything says on refrigerate after opening, but I know for a fact that they didn't used to refrigerate eggs and keep them up to 30 days. I know for a fact they didn't used to refrigerate cheese. And if you'll look at Velveeta, it ain't in the cooler in the market. Now, we refrigerate everything we want to refrigerate after opening. Butter didn't used to be refrigerated. They used to eat it. Hot sauce don't say nothing about. Neither does Worcestershire sauce say about. Now, my grape jelly and my relish say refrigerate after opening. But I know for a fact that they didn't used to refrigerate jelly or pickles. Mustard, Worcestershire, soy sauce, ketchup, mayonnaise, I don't know, but You could buy you a small mayonnaise, not buy you a quart jar, and it'd probably be all right for 3, 4, 5 days. We put it in tater salad and eat it. But just leave your mayonnaise off and put it on, buy you a small one, put it in your refrigerator. But that represents how much space you can save in your refrigerator and put other stuff in while you boondocking. Now somebody's going to say all this stuff says refrigerate. All of it does say refrigerate after opening and for best quality. They don't say that it'll spoil on you. They say for best quality, except for these two. But I know for a fact Velveeta's not refrigerated in stores. They didn't used to refrigerate butter. They didn't used to refrigerate eggs. They didn't used to refrigerate cheese, pickles, or jelly. Hot sauce, pepper sauce, and stuff. They didn't. There's a lot of space right there you can save out of your refrigerator by non-refrigerating something. Mayonnaise would be the only thing I'd be suspect about, but I'll eat mayonnaise a couple of days old. Now, I've stayed with my granny in the summertime when I was a wee tot of a lad, before she had electricity and flowing water. She still had that little outhouse out there, and everybody gave her the Sears and Roebuck catalog for paper. And I've crinkled up paper to help it take the crap off easier. You know, you'd wad it up and roll it around to make it a little bit rougher. Because them Roebuck catalogs had that print stuff on them. They were sort of slick. If you didn't crinkle them up and rough them up a little bit, it wouldn't take a whole lot of crap off your butt. But I've been to Granny's before she had electricity and flowing water, and before she had refrigeration and all that. So I know. Now you might say to me, how do you know they didn't used to refrigerate these items? Well, I'll tell you how I know. On eggs, I've experienced that firsthand. On cheese, I've experienced that firsthand. And on butter, I've experienced that firsthand. On pickles, I've experienced that firsthand. On jelly, I've experienced that firsthand. But I know this for a fact. I remember my daddy talking about their ice box. They didn't have a refrigerator because there was no electricity back in the days when my daddy was a boy. But he talked about their ice box with a hole in the ground that they had lined with sawdust. And then they'd put burlap over that sawdust to keep the sawdust from getting in on the ice. And when a wise man come by once or twice a month, they would buy a block of ice and put in that hole, and they had some stuff they covered it with. And he said when they wanted something cold to drink in the summertime, they would go out there with an ice pick and chop them off a piece of that ice to make them a cold drink with in the summertime. And that's all the ice they had. So they didn't have no refrigeration. He said they had iced tea because they'd go chip them off a piece of that ice and put it in their glass and make them some iced tea. He said they all wanted iced tea. So I know refrigeration wasn't greatly used then, and when I was a boy, there was a lot of things left out. Right after me and baby doll got married in '69, they had an egg bowl sitting out on the back porch. So I know for a fact eggs are keep. What I'm talking about, I know for a fact on a lot of it. Mayonnaise is the only thing I'd be suspect on. But I eat tater salad that's a week old sometimes with mayonnaise in it. I'm a mayonnaise man. Mayonnaise and crackers, saltine crackers with mayonnaise on them, one of my favorite snacks. So y'all have a good day. Clear you up some space in your refrigerator when you boondocking and you don't want to come in, go to a store.
I'm glad I made this journey with you.
We pray we'll see you in the rapture.